Alright, so this is the part 2 of the top third slot unit video that I've done previously. To be honest, I do not really know what to categorize or call this, so I just call them the third slot unit. So if Cisne was the best, and technically if we are just relying on one specific DPS, then we have Cisne, we actually can have another unit that provides additional damage to the party as well. So in that case, if Cisne is the second slot unit, who will be the third slot unit? So you can see here in my comparison, I have removed the other unit, so I just picked the top 6 based on the results that we get in the previous video, and that is Wise, Ana, Kais, Arciela, Fujin, and Kadash. And in this analysis, I kind of use a typical DPS unit. Usually, if you consider their UW, their BT, that's already 70%. Their armor is usually 20 to 30%, so they could easily hit about 100 to 110%. So inclusive of Cisne 30% from her BT and another unit 30%, so we get about 60. So if we add it up together, we get about 170 to 180. So here I have a typical DPS is about 180 HP damage limit, and then we have Cisne 185, and the third slot, if it's Wise, then he will have 180. If it's Ana, then it will be 300 due to her BT boosting. So the initial typical DPS HP damage limit increases to 300 as well. Cisne herself is 300. Then if we use Kais, we get about 200 because Kais' armor has 20% HP damage limit up to the party. Then we have Arciela, which is 45, Fujin 35, Kadash 85, inclusive of his FR. So if you look into this comparison, I wrote their main DPS FR with no 50%. That is referring to 50% HP damage limit. That's because if we have a character, like if we are bringing, let's say in the future we have Emerin, which is one of the strongest DPS that we have right now in JP. Then we have Cisne and we have Wise. None of them have FR with 50% HP damage limit, while Ana and Kadash have that. So if you use Ana and Kadash FR as main FR, then you get that additional 50%. So in a certain setup, they can have the advantage over the other unit due to the HP damage limit up. At the bottom of the table, I assume that if we have a DPS with 50% HP damage limit up, so technically every single unit will be boosted by 50%, but in Ana's and Kadash case, their HP damage limit remains as the one on the top of the table. That's because they originally already have 50% HP damage limit up from their FR. Alright, so here's the analysis. I did not break it down into multiple slides and explaining each and every on why they are ranked this way. That's because I have done it in the previous video. So here I just want to show you if we are using 16 HP dumps, technically the same basis that I was using for the previous video. And I split it here with and without launch, and if main DPS have 50% or not. So in this case, if you are bringing some DPS unit that does not have 50%, Kais is actually the best, right? Because they do not have launch as well. So if you bring Kais, Cisne, and for example Ignis, Emerin, then you will be able to maximize your damage. On the other hand, if you have launch, like if you use Rain's LD call, then Kadash is actually better. That's because Kadash have 50% HP damage limit up from his FR. So he will out damage Kais in that perspective. Ana is not very far away, so do keep that in mind. If your main DPS has 50% HP damage limit up, then Kais is the better choice for with or without launch. Even with launch, it's still Kais. That's because Kais does 4 HP dumps and then he launches. Then that's your party do the follow-up attack during launch, so technically the follow-up attack that he do is as high as 6 HP dumps. So if you compare that to Kadash is 6 HP dumps as well, but Kai's has the additional wall damage, which makes him a better follow-up attacker compared to Kadash. Then if we are talking about 24 HP dumps, then the best unit is still Kai's, as he provide launch as well. Now if you are using Rain's LD call, that changes to Anna. So Anna is a better choice, and then follow up by Kadash. One thing to note on Anna is, because in this video the assumption your main DPS got about self HP damage limit up about 100 to 110%, but if you have more, like some unit like Cloud have additional 50% HP damage limit up, or you are using Sepiro has 70% HP damage limit up from his BT. Inclusive of the party HP damage limit up, Sepiro have a total of 100% HP damage limit up from his BT. So that might change slightly in terms of if Anna is a better choice or Kadash. But anyway, they are just side by side, and it's not very far apart in terms of the total damage that they do. If you have main DPS with 50% HP damage limit up on their FR, with 24 HP dumps on the main DPS unit, then Kai's is still number 1, but now Wise is at number 1 if you have Rain's call. Okay, so Wise really boosts up Cisne's damage. And with a lot more HP down from the DPS, Wise additional 10% damage, thus really boosts up the overall damage. Alright, so my recommended team in this case will be Wise, Cisne, and the DPS unit that you are using. It can be anyone. So overall, not all DPS has 50% HP damage limit up. So if you are using those units, then Anna and Kadash has an advantage here. Kadash and Anna is the best slot for this setup. With Kai's having additional follow-up launch, he out-damaged a lot of other units, obviously except for Cisne, but since Cisne is already in the party, so Kai's will be the third best choice. One thing to note about Kai's is that if you are using Astos or Rufus, they will be doing 999,000 during launch, and that really boosts Kai's up. So I'm going to show you in the next slide that if you are using Astos as your DPS, then what would be the damage like. Anyway, if we increase HP down, Wise is overall the champion as he further boosts Cisne damage as well. Then Anna is the best for main DPS if they has no FR with 50% HP damage limit up, but is still subjected to overall HP damage limit like I mentioned about Cloud or Sephiroth. So in this case, I would actually recommend Kadash as the third best. So we have the winner here. Without launch, main DPS has no 50%, and that is Kai's. Then we have Anna Crow. I should have put Kadash picture as well. So Anna is dependent. So the best next choice, easier for most setup, is Kadash. Then again here we have Kai's if your main DPS has 50% HP damage limit on their FR. And the winner here with launch with main DPS having 50% HP damage limit up is Wise. Okay, Cisne, Wise, and whichever DPS that you want to use. Alright, so for a special bonus content, and that is Astos. So if you are using Astos as your main DPS and he does not have an FR, but still because of the additional launch that Kai's causes the launch and having Astos doing a follow attack during launch, he really does out damage any other character here. Surprisingly, because of Yeah, surprisingly, RCLR also does a lot, especially if we include launch damage, means using ranged call. So we have Kai's number 1, RCLR number 2, Kadash, Wise, Anna, and Fujin. So in that case, if you are, if you really like to use Astos, then you probably want to go for RCLR as well. One last note is that there are several of you that commented if you don't have a UW for Cisne, is he still a good unit to go for? I have did some tests as I mentioned, and yes, I can cap even without UW, but I will talk about it a little bit more detail, so don't worry about that for now.